This video is sponsored by me. Read my original novel, Dance of Frozen Death. Link in the description. Greetings, fellow mortals. You know, it's almost comical how many conversations I have gotten out of Velma. Especially because it came out around the exact same time as The Last of Us show did. Talk about two vastly different qualities of shows on the exact same platform. At least when it comes to writing. And effects are about equal. Velma at least has some beautiful animation. You have to give it that. But their understanding of already established characters is non-existent. This is the exact opposite of The Last of Us show, where they understand the characters pretty well. And yes, everyone who is aware of my previous video on The Last of Us show, where I predicted that it would be bad, I know, yes, the video where I'm eating my crow will come out. It is a very good show. Not perfect, mind you, and I do think that the game is the better version, but that's a matter of preference. They adapted the story extremely well, especially Joel, who in this version is kind of more of a jerk than in the game. Yeah, apparently I still want to pick fights about this show, so I don't know if I've learned my lesson or not.
A flying ice cream truck. And live!
Now, I'm not saying this is the bad thing. Is Joel supposed to be the kindest man to ever live? And spoilers for the first episode here, when he couldn't prevent his daughter from getting murdered and then he lived 20 years into the apocalypse? Do we actually expect him to be friendly? Do we expect him to open up to Ellie immediately? Do we expect him to be friendly with strangers who could easily want to kill him? No, his circumstances transformed him into a jaded man, a survivor. He has to be rude and willing to treat people poorly, and we see him treat people poorly a lot. And despite all of his rude attitudes, there are positives about him. Joel is loyal to the very end. He takes a lot of time to let a new person in, but when he does, he loves stronger than anyone else. He's knowledgeable about construction, he's a good teacher, and he has a dry wit about him. Compare this to Velma, who treats everyone terribly for no good reason. Someone could literally have been kind to her 5 seconds ago, and she'll throw them under the bus for no reason. It's really weird. She doesn't exactly have 20 years in a hostile environment that wants all humans dead. She's a teenager in modern society with all the comfort she could ever want. I could literally see her preaching about workers' rights and then treating her barista like garbage.
Not a great plan.
Now, because this is the internet, I could easily see someone who mostly lacks listening skills giving me a hard time about this. Not you, of course, a wonderful viewer. Someone disingenuous could listen to the first part of this video and accuse me of liking Joel because he's a man and disliking Velma because she's a woman. Never mind that I think Tess and Ellie are great characters, that doesn't matter at all. No matter what, they would accuse me of being sexist even though I already explained why one character works and the other doesn't. So throughout this, I will be adding a few female quote-unquote unlikable characters, meaning standoffish and rude at times, because they can be done very well. They don't have to be like Velma. They can work, just like with male characters. They need to have a few aspects supporting them. Just like with male jerk characters, they need to be competent, funny, and have a character arc where they do in fact change, or at least have one of those, meaning they can't say the exact same at the end where their standoffishness hasn't altered at all, at least to the people around them. We need to have watched them evolve.
But I prefer to see it as the study of change. Now just think about this.
The biggest examples I can think of off the top of my head would be from video games, and by that I mean Japanese video games. Veronica from Dragon Quest XI and Shihon from Tales of Arise end up being one of my favorite characters from those respective games. I mean, not my overall favorite, Sylvando and Dohalim exist, sorry, not sorry, but I do love the depth and development shown in both Veronica and Shihon. Veronica is repeatedly shown to have a softer, kinder side for the hero in Dragon Quest. Shihon is kinda different considering that the writers pushed the limit with her. I almost got sick of her when they finally decided to have her open up and show a softer side to her personality. But that was the point because the characters were getting fed up with her too. It's almost like the writers planned out the character arc before they started writing, I don't know. Oddly enough, my wife had a lot less patience for Veronica and Shion than I did. She asked me why they were being so rude and called them names which would get me in trouble if I repeated them on YouTube. P.S. I have cleared this with my wife. She said that if you can't take a joke, then you can go. And this whole scenario is funny to me because I was just asking her to give the characters a chance. They would get better. The writers knew what they were doing. Not only did their development help them become more likable, they were effective members of the team and had some funny, biting comments thrown in sometimes. So that's the key. And I know humor is subjective, but I think all of this works better than the stuff in Velma, Captain Marvel, 2016 Ghostbusters, or that one Terminator movie that was just god awful. Because male characters can't just be irredeemably awful and then be beloved. They can't be terrible all the time. There's a reason why I'm turned off by Forspoken and Atomic Heart equally. The characters have to be competent, charismatic, and have some bit of goodness in them for people to actually care. Let's look at one of the most famous examples for a rude but beloved character in fiction. Sherlock Holmes is a genius detective. He's quirky and hard to get along with, but he does have a sense of justice and can be generous to clients who struggle to pay for his services. Of course, this often happens because he wants a case that will challenge him. If something catches his interest, then he'll invest everything into it. It's almost like he's written like a real person who is skilled and flawed, which is what helped him become one of the most famous characters ever written. Isn't that interesting?
Really makes you think.
But what about more modern examples? Can I only think of mean female characters from Japan entertainment that I like? Well, no. My favorite movie from last year featured a character that was rude and irritated by almost everything around her at the start of her story. Evelyn from Everything Everywhere All at Once might be one of my favorite female characters of all time. While there is sympathy for her at the start, she wouldn't be classified as kind. That role belongs to her husband, Waymond. As the story progresses, Evelyn becomes more skilled, knowledgeable, and eventually enlightened to the point that she learns from her husband. Waymond reveals the key to resolving the conflict. She develops and becomes someone who cares about the people around her. It's a perfect story, and I will scream about it until the end of time, until everyone sees this film.
That's beautiful, man.
The key to all of this is development. Having a stagnant, completely unlikable character just doesn't work. At the very least, the hardened character needs to open up and love someone by the end of the tale. You can't just have them be completely the same and treat everyone rudely the whole way through. And one tiny act of kindness isn't enough to break the trend. It reminds me of the movie I'll Be Home for Christmas, which I was flabbergasted with even when I was a kid. Jake from that film comes off as unlikable the entire time, and I never once cared if he achieved his goals. The key to all of this is heart. Why does a character act the way that they do? What are their circumstances? Does it influence their competency? How will they change? Does the alteration affect the plot? All of this needs to be answered for the story to work. Unless it's a pure tragedy. It reminds me of Lisa the Painful. Little about Brad is redeemable at the end of that game, but that's the point. It's a terrible world, and Brad has faced trauma every step of his life. He's not portrayed as the hero ever. That's the point. You aren't supposed to root for him. You're supposed to wish that he was better.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
There are other examples too. Of course, there are my absolute favorites, Saul and Kim from Better Call Saul, Denji and Asa from Chainsaw Man, Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. The entire time you experience their tales, you wish that life was better for them and that they would be better. So pity and empathy are good tools to make these kinds of characters work. Or humor works too. Daria isn't the nicest person in the world, and Cartman is an irredeemable monster, but they're hilarious to watch. And no, I'm not exactly comparing them morally. One can just be a little rude sometimes, and the other is a sociopath. I'm just throwing out the best funny examples that I can think of. Just go with it, because we all need to remember how to laugh sometimes. So there are a wide range of ways to make rude and unkind characters work. There just has to be passion thrown in there. The writers need to show us that this is a person worth supporting instead of just making them mean to everyone and then telling us that they're awesome and we should really love them because they're awesome. Show us why we should care, and if you don't do that, then the entire story just falls apart.
No. Wait.
But what do you think? Am I completely off base here? Who's your favorite character who could be classified as a bit of a jerk? Who's your least favorite character like this? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your perspectives. And thank you so much for watching. If you like my takes on storytelling, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It would really help me out. Also, please remember that I just released my original novel, Dance of Frozen Death, book 1 in the Written in Stone series, link in the description. And my second book, Above Heaven, will be released in May 2023. I hope that you will check them both out. I appreciate you. Do not despair.